So do you still get the name Ha-Shilth-Sa Bob?
Oh yeah. Some places everybody calls me that. I don't think they know my real name. Maybe that is my real name.
Just Ha-Shilth-Sa.
I worked for 23 years, approximately. Started in 1974 until 1997. 1974 was when the paper started. And it was actually the idea of my best friend, George Watts. He was the chairman of the New Nullth Tribal Council. It was called the West Coast District Council at that time. They were based out of Ha-Shilth-Sa, Port Alberni, at the old residential school. And there's 14 member tribes along the west coast of the island. And George wanted to have some means of communication between the tribal council and 14 tribes, so he got the idea of having a newspaper. First gig, the first big one that I went to was in a house when they first got BC Hydro in there. And I went into a house, and I'd never been there before. I knew a few guys from there, and sort of walking in cold, and they had a big celebration in their Thunderbird Hall there, and I stayed with an old lady named Mary Little. She's a wonderful old lady, and I remember we stayed in the hall until something like 4:30 in the morning. They were playing La-o-qui-aht, and I'd never seen so many people before playing La-o-qui-aht, and finally I dragged myself home or over to Mary Little's at about 4:30 in the morning, and then about 5:30 in the morning she shook me up and said, "Get up, boy, it's time for breakfast." Ha-Shilth-Sa means interesting news in Nullth. The name was suggested by one of the hereditary chiefs, Chief Cecil Mack. Up in Port Alberni, and I met George at A.W. Neal the first year that the school opened. It was in 1957, I think. I was 12 years old. I happened to be sitting behind him. That's how I got. It was actually the first native person I had met, I guess. I never met a native person until then. And then I had a few other classmates that were from the residential school that were going to A.W. Neal. And I was involved in sports, so I got to meet a few other guys there that way. And I grew close to George and his family, and they adopted me into his family. And very enjoyable, lots of good times. Lots of good times up at Paper Mill Dam there, and fish days, and I liked taking pictures of their people doing their traditional things, like catching the salmon and barbecuing it. Residential school issue, I guess, would be another one, which came to a head there with the court case.
Did you cover that court case?
I covered that too, yeah. Went to the whole thing with infamous Mr. Plint, who ended up spending the rest of his life in jail. And my good friend Art Thompson was one of the ones that sent him there. It's quite a memorable event, seeing Art up on the stand and speaking directly to that man about what he did to him. Very emotional and memorable. I had a lot of respect for that man, Art.
Yeah.
This is one of the things I used to like doing. I was doing a centerfold of pictures. And this one's a memorial potlatch for one of the elders, Mary Thompson and Nitnat. And just try and get some pictures of the dancers and singers and people that are there. I was always amazed at some of the knowledge that these elders had.
Yeah.
Because to me, they were like scientists or biologists. They just knew so much more than the average person knew. Eh?
Yeah.
So to me, it was a great education. Like it's something you couldn't learn at school, really. It was like being at school. You know, and I took a lot of pictures of the elders, and I'm really glad I did because I've shared a lot of them with their family and that, and they've really appreciated that.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like a treasure, some of those pictures.
What nation or what tribe was it that gave you a First Nations name?
That was Tla-o-qui-aht. Chief Adam Shuish was at a meeting there, a Nullth Tribal Council meeting once, and I was surprised. I never had a clue about it, what was going on, and it was dinner time, and I walked back into the meeting, and my parents were there. What the heck are they doing here? And then I found out that Adam was giving me a name, and he made me an honorary member of Tla-o-qui-aht. So his name was Ha-Shilth-Sa Bob. Means excels 10 times. Quite the lofty name. Had a hard time living up to that one.
Ha-Shilth-Sa Bob has excelled 10 times over, with the stories he wrote and the pictures he took. Now, this is the time he's passing these stories and pictures on.